Hey everybody, Christopher Green, AMTV, Alternative Media Television. You know, the path to salvation is a very narrow road, and the path to destruction is wide. I did a video on this today. I encourage you to watch it. It provides a lot of information, insight, new perspective that you might not have thought about yet, that really might be at the tip of your tongue, which explains everything that's going on right now, explains this global lockdown and crisis. Is we're now seeing Donald Trump start to open up and reopen up the economy a little bit, but our public health officials warning of a mutating new virulent strain similar to what we experienced in 1918 with the second wave of the Spanish flu, which was far more deadly than the first and or the third waves. In fact, it was a W-shaped infection curve. It wasn't a single instance, wasn't even two waves, it was three. And if we study the 1918 Spanish flu, we know that one of the reasons why it spread is because people were moving around, people were in confined spaces. Of course, we were fighting World War I, and our troops got it, then they brought it back home, and they were traveling with it. And then after the virus had mutated to a more deadly form, began to infect people. And what was very unique about the 1918 Spanish flu is that it killed you within 24 hours. So it had a 24-hour shelf life before it was the end of you. Now, it kind of appears that we are on a similar path with COVID. And this, honestly, is my fear. And I don't make these videos so that you're in fear. I make these videos so that you're prepared and you understand what these people are warning about. Again, let me give you an example of this. No matter if you agree or like Bill Gates or not, the words coming from his mouth is that a second deadlier wave is coming, a second deadlier virus. The words coming from the mouth of our public officials is we need to be very, very concerned about a second wave. Just today alone, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, there's a lot going on in the West Wing. They've had more people diagnosed, people that Ivanka Trump is in direct contact with on a day-to-day basis, one of her advisors. Mike Pence's staffer, where he's in direct contact with her on a day-to-day basis, has now been diagnosed with COVID. 11 of Donald Trump's Secret Service members. There was a gentleman, I think he's an economic advisor, Mr. Hassett today. He was speaking on Face the Nation. I think it's Fox News. I don't know. I don't watch mainstream television. But it was just saying that showing up to the West Wing is very, very risky and dangerous. And he thinks he'd be safer if he just, plainly stayed home. But he's going to keep showing up to serve his country. And by the way, Mike Pence and Donald Trump are the only people not wearing masks currently, even though pretty much every grocery store in the country is required to wear one. I understand why they're not wearing one, because it's a weak look. And honestly, it projects fear, not confidence. Probably one of the main reasons why they don't want to wear a mask. Although I think that might change, and we might see them wearing masks because they're absolutely going to have to. Also, Donald Trump is between a rock and a hard place. He has very limited and few options. The longer he keeps the economy closed, the more severe the economic depression will be, and it's guaranteed. If he begins to open it up, but he opens it up too quickly, and then they got to shut everything down again, or they just let the infection and the second wave hit, that's going to cause Great Depression. It greatly sours his chances for re-election. So there's this political element to it, to the virus. There's also, a health and wellness element, which I think is Donald Trump's top concern. And, I pray for the president. I think he's got a very difficult job, has to make very, very difficult decisions. And I certainly know that I would not want to have his job. So let's please pray for the president. Also, I've noticed in recent days the psychological and mental impact of this lockdown and being in quarantine. I've noticed that people's mental health has really been on the decline recently. And I think we need to pray for everybody out there. Maybe some of you tuning in, and believe me, I'm not immune to this either. I mean, I feel like we all have a little bit of PTSD as a result of the fear-mongering that we've been getting from the mainstream media. And, that's been lowering our immune systems. But we also have to understand, if we look at history, eerily, it appears we might be repeating and doomed to repeat what we saw in 1918. And what happened in 1918, to go over the specifics, they had the first infections hit like in March, which is when we first started hearing about it in the United States, even though we knew months and months ago. I mean, in January, I was reporting, telling all you guys it would be the biggest story in the world. This was going to have a massive impact. We're going to have an economic lockdown, collapse, which is exactly what we're having now. And then things started to open up a little bit in 1918. They got a little better in the summer, with the heat, right? There's this idea that with the heat, it's not flu season anymore. But then as they rolled around to like early fall into the rest of the year, the second wave hit. And it killed about 20 to 50 million people. And that's honestly what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid, and it's not to be in fear, I would say cautiously optimistic is a better term. I know our Fed has used that from time to time in years past with all the bailouts. But cautiously optimistic that, look, you tuning in need to take advantage of every single opportunity that you can. Whatever little freedom you have to be prepping, thinking about relocation strategies, getting food, getting water, getting equipment, figuring out ways to start new businesses if needed, figuring out ways to make money, figuring out ways to keep your money. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have money, that's why I always recommend gold and silver and these kinds of things, because I'm sure you want to keep that stuff and save it for a rainy day. That's what most people are trying to do. But we need to understand that the road to salvation is a very, very narrow path. And I was listening to this at our church. It's all virtual now, obviously. Everything is. Hopefully it'll reopen soon. But I was brought back to the Word, Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. It said, there's two ways of life in which we can choose to live. And this is, of course, Jesus speaking on the Sermon on the Mount. Again, I know not everyone here is religious. I have all faiths. You guys are all welcome. You can even look at this anecdotally or, look at it from, study it as an analogy or a metaphor for what's happening now. But it says this, verse 13, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, leads to the pathway to destruction. So that's easy. That's where everybody's going. And there are many who go in by it. Because narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it. So, the path, the right path, usually making the right decisions in your life are the toughest things to do. Doing what is right oftentimes is the hardest thing to do and doesn't necessarily benefit you. As a Christian, I tweeted this over the weekend. One of the distinctions of people of faith in general, but I think Christians and good people that aren't religious, that just have a moral code and structure. And by the way, if you're one of those people, you should read the book of Romans. It goes over that way. You have a natural inclination and a conscience, so to speak, to do the right things, because we do know what's good and what's evil and what is light and what is darkness. And isn't that the truth? Isn't this whole war, right? The four horsemen of the apocalypse, as we read in the Holy Bible in the book of Revelation, and I've been studying the book of Daniel recently as well. Isn't that what we're truly fighting here? Light versus darkness, fear. And what's the opposite of fear? Love, right? It's why the Bible talks so much about the love of Jesus and to love your neighbor, treat other people with respect, how you would want to be treated, and to walk through the narrow pathway, not the broad entry point, which many are going to go into desolation and eternal separation and absolute destruction. I think these things are very important things to think about where we currently are in the world, and understand that what's happening worldwide is absolutely unprecedented on a global scale. Even if we took everything that these people are doing at face value, and let's just say we don't critically think at all. And by the way, that's the most valuable skill you can ever teach yourself, is how to critically think and problem solve and come up with solutions and, be optimistic and those kinds of things. But even if we didn't critically think at all, and let's just say everything that the government tells us is the truth, right? And by the way, in 1918, they did not allow the newspapers or the mainstream media talk about the truth of how deadly the 1918 virus flu pandemic was, the Spanish flu. In fact, I'll put a link in the description. There's a great history.com article you can read about that. Those are not my words. So there was like a cover-up about the actual truth. But even if we believe everything that we are being told, that's still not a good scenario. That's still not a good situation. And I have to think that regardless of what the real truth is, they wouldn't shut down the entire world, build key new critical infrastructure, build all these new hospitals from the ground up, outfit with all this new medical equipment, tell us things like it's going to be Pearl Harbor, and then put people into mental health crises in America and worldwide as a result of this. I mean, that's been the real psychological damage of all of this. And it's been just as much of a mental lockdown as it's been a physical one, probably more mental. You know, fear is the unknown. When we don't know what's coming, when we don't know when things are going to open up or get back to normal, and there's that uncertainty, that's actually the scariest thing that there possibly could be. You know, it might be a reason why we're in that position right now. So be prepped, be of sober mind, be vigilant. Let's also be real too and honest. You know, now's a time where it's very easy to try to find an unhealthy outlet. You know, this could be anything. This could be being in a bad mood or being angry at your spouse or drinking too much. Where we're all more apt when we're under psychological stress, like we all are, and there's a lot of people depressed and anxious and fearful and losing their jobs, and there's massive unemployment. I mean, we had 2 billionaires today say that we're in a Great Depression. Mark Zandi, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's a super wealthy guy, hedge fund manager, says we're in a depression. And then also Paul Tudor Jones says we're in a depression if they don't open up things soon. And the double-digit unemployment lasts more than at least, you know, a couple of months, which I think it will. And I think it will prove to do just that. And so there's this psychological damage. There's this economic damage. There's this threat of the unknown that we don't know what's going to happen next. And I just want you guys to be prepared. I'm being brutally honest. I have a very, very bad feeling of what's ahead. I think that the second shoe has not dropped. I don't. And that doesn't mean I'm not critically thinking. It doesn't mean I believe just what I'm being told. It means I'm watching what other people are doing. So, for example, what are the billionaires doing? Okay? What are the big Fortune 500 companies doing? They're in a full lockdown until 2021. Like, seriously. They know. Like, do you understand? Wall Street closed. You know, it's just all digital. So they know what's really happening. And again, it appears, this was even a quote today, Donald Trump's really spooked about what's going on in the White House. I'd be spooked too, would you not? His whole political career is in jeopardy. He could lose the election over this. We're living in a freaking depression right now. I mean, they were getting briefed with classified information in January, which is how I knew it was going to be this bad early on, because it wasn't hidden. It was in plain sight. You know, if you want to hide something, just put it out right there in the open for everyone to see and they'll miss it. I talk about it in the video that I did on this pathway to desolation and this broad path, which most are going to go, and the narrow path, which is the hardest path, and very few are going to walk towards. So this is spiritual warfare, right? This is a spiritual battle. This is a battle between good and evil, light and darkness, fear and love. So we can still talk about these real issues and come from a place of love and respect and honor and just being realistic about what the cards actually hold. And, you know, when I talk to my closest friends and family, we're talking about what can we do in this short little window to increase our preps, build better relationships, support each other, help people that need it. And probably the most important thing is our salvation. I don't know about you, but like, I've been reading the Bible every single night, getting really close to the Word, because there's a lot of people out there, and I might be one of them, you know, that think this is the end times. And they believe that the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the seals have been broken, and the trump it has sounded. So be vigilant, be prepared. Also have something I want you to do tonight or do tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this video, because there was a time change where I'm at. It's absolutely free, by the way. There's one thing you do today. Download this. I wrote this, penned it myself, okay, about 1.5 years ago. Absolutely free. Not selling anything. All you have to do is click the link below. Enter in a little bit of information. Teaches you everything that you need to know to protect yourself with gold. Now, that's just one bucket. Click that link, though. Do that. If there's one thing you do today, get that guy. You know, that's not the only thing you need to be doing, right? I talk about kind of the tree of preparedness: food, water, shelter, defense, your mindset, your job, your career. If you have a little money, you want to make sure that you're prepped for a rainy day, right? You want to make sure you don't lose it. You need to be doing stuff like this. You need to be learning. You need to be proactive, and you need to start problem solving. So if you haven't considered this, which is absolutely free, which I don't normally do, just click the link below and get it. Help you. Okay, I put a lot of work into it. I've made some updates over the last couple of days in it as well. I tell you where I think pricing is going to go and what I think is going to happen next. So, but that's beside the point. But make sure you do that. The pathway is narrow. We don't know how much time we have left. In 1918, it's just the facts. The second wave was the bad one. It was a worst case scenario. It was a cataclysm, apocalyptic, according to the history article that you can read for yourself. And when I read it, it was spooky because it's mirroring where we are now, right? The first phase of it, the first round, kind of has like similar mortality rates as the flu. Not even that bad. We're all kind of getting desensitized to it now. Like, why do we have to wear masks? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to wash our hands? People are reopening their facilities. And I support this, by the way. I mean, Elon Musk opening up his plant again today. I think these are all great things. But what if we're all wrong? You see what I'm saying? Watch what other people are doing above you. And all these people that I know of, that I watch, that I keep a keen eye on so I can see, with my eyes wide open, are in lockdown, in quarantine, and they're warning of a very virulent mutated second wave and a second strain. And that's what I'm worried about. Doesn't mean I'm going to live in fear, because I got this. And by the way, there is no fear in the Lord. There is no fear in our King, Jesus Christ. He is our salvation. He is our hope. He is our beacon of light in the darkness. And is that not a beautiful thing? As we sit still, all at attention, and we live through, experience, witness, and prepare for His eternal glory. I love you guys so much. Click the link below to support us. Get that free kit. It's absolutely free. You'll learn something. It's so important you do that. And then share this video. Love you guys so much. And watch my last video. I think it's very, very insightful. You're going to want to take a look at it. God bless. Hey, everybody. Christopher Green. Click the link below. Get our free AIM-TV Gold Kit today. Gold and silver is an economic hedge to the uncertainty and the instability that we're seeing right now. I mean, take a look at politicians warning us of a second wave of the virus, and unemployment rates at new all-time highs, not seen since the Great Depression. Gold and silver is one of the ways, one of the few ways that you can actually hedge the money that you've saved, that you've worked your entire life, hedge your retirement accounts and your 401ks. In fact, you can roll over, and I encourage you, please consider our partner, Birch Gold Group. These are great people. They can help consult you free of charge on how to look at various different types of products and investments. They can preserve your wealth. They can help you take advantage of certain tax implications and savings and these kinds of things. And also, just by getting our free guide today, with a minimum purchase of Birch Gold Group, buying any gold or silver, you'll also enter to receive a free AIM-TV emergency kit bug out bag. So really cool that they would do that. We're offering that free of charge for all new customers that meet those minimum purchase requirements. So before you go, click the link below. Get that guide today. Also, consider our partner, Birch Gold Group. These are, God-fearing Christian men and women. I've been doing business with them for a very long time. I trust them, and they're just good people. So let them help you and help yourself and prepare for what we know is coming. God bless.